I am the body snatcher. You know we love tummy tucks on this show. Welcome back to Boxing.
Welcome back, loyal fight fans. Today, we have a great special going on for you. It's been long in the works from your boy. Put a lot of work into this because it's not just today's episode. This will hopefully be an ongoing thing that I've put a lot of thought and time into. Welcome to Unknown by Casuals, the little pod on pod action here. So what we do here is we're going to be talking about fighters that the average fan would not know. The rules to this are a little bit loose. For one, you can have been a world champion. You can. But you have to have losses on your record. You have to be unknown by most casual fans, what you would imagine to be an unknown fighter to them. You have to have had a good win or an extremely close fight with somebody that basically you had no business being in the ring with. And first off, thumbs up, please, because I appreciate them very much. If you aren't subscribed already, definitely get on board. We're a podcast that's taken off here. But first and foremost, and really, what I've always imagined and what I've said before in this podcast is drop stuff in the comments. I love it when you guys do. If you can correct me, if you want to have a friendly debate about something, as long as it's respectful, you can disagree with me, agree with me. I want to hear your thoughts. I'm a boxing fan. That's why I started this podcast, and I want to talk to other boxing fans. This little segment that is this one today is the first of, is especially important that you guys drop comments, because I have a list of 3 fighters today to talk to you about in boxing that are still boxing today, to give you a chance to check them out if you haven't heard of them already. And we have a little list going for several more episodes already, but I would love and much appreciate if you guys drop some suggestions on fighters to talk about. Again, this is the unknown to casuals, so we're not going to be talking about Mike Tyson on this podcast or Canelo Alvarez or nobody like that. And I'd love to hear your takes. If they've had some good wins, they also have losses, and they're unknown to casuals, we want to talk about them on this show and shed some light on some great fighters that a lot of people don't know about. First up, for our first episode, srisaket soy rungvisai. Keep having things popping up here, which is just great. Srisaket soy rungvisai is 56-1, might be 57-1 now, but I'm pretty sure they keep these records at the sites I'm going to updated pretty well. Rungvisai is an absolute legend. Let's first off go through some of the wins that he has had in his career. So, another fighter that a lot of people wouldn't know, Sergiy, but he was 50-7 when Rungvisai fought him, and Rungvisai won. He beat Juan Francisco Estrada, who has just come off of a win over Chocolatito, unifying a bunch of belts, and is a current unified world champion in boxing today. And Rungvisai has a win over him. Then he went on to beat the other legend of this division, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, and he won a majority decision. They directly ran the fight back, and he won by vicious KO, again beating the legend Chocolatito. And he also has a win over Jose Salgado. And Salgado at this point was 34-2. That's another very good win by Rungvisai. And then even going through the losses here, this man started his career with 2 losses back-to-back, okay, in boxing, which is kind of unheard of. Then he went on to have a draw. Then he went on to have another loss. And after that, 25 straight wins. Not the stiffest competition, but really coming up, and that's when he got more of his chances, which we just listed off, of incredible wins against quite literally the very best people that are boxing in his weight class today. His losses include another absolute great in this weight class and a legend, Carlos Quadras, who was 29-0 at the point when Rungvisai fought him. He, as I said, he did beat Juan Francisco Estrada. They had a rematch, and he lost when Estrada was 38-3. And then he just had a loss over Jesse Bam Rodriguez, who is an absolute phenom. And one of that you can count on one hand, the next big things in boxing today. And last note on Rungvisai here, who is just absolutely incredible. I encourage you to watch those Chocolatito fights. It's just stunned and shocked the world if you saw them at the time. He is 3-3 against the very best three fighters in his weight class today. There is a legend for you to check out that a lot of people don't know about. I think that was a very strong start to kind of what the kind of fighters we're trying to talk about on this special here, on these specials rather. Next up, we're going to talk about Robson Conceicao. I've been a longtime fan of him. Okay, first off, he's a first gold medal Olympian from Brazil. First Brazilian to take a gold medal in the Olympics. He's been to the Olympics several times. He even had technically, and I didn't agree with this, but it was a close enough fight and just showing off how skilled of a boxer he is. Originally had a win in the amateurs against in the Olympics against Lomachenko. And then it was overturned afterwards, which I believe was the right decision for sure. But originally, they even credit him with a win over Lomachenko. He has beaten Josh Taylor in the Olympics. He has beaten Oscar Valdez, and he has beaten Lazaro Alvarez, who is an absolute legend in the Olympics, who is a multiple-time gold medal Olympian. That is how he got his Olympic medal. Absolutely incredible. In the pros, started off strong. I believe that his record stands, I think, at least 19-1, possibly 20-1 now as a pro. Again, starting off in the pros, as is normal in boxing. Not so much stiff competition, that to be had there. But he had a good win over Xavier Martinez, which was really nice, and he got a chance to fight Oscar Valdez in the pros, which I had just previously mentioned. He has beaten Oscar Valdez before turning pro, and I thought that he beat Oscar Valdez again in their pro fight, where he would have become a world champion there. I thought he deserved to. I thought it was pretty clear. And it was definitely just a case of people appreciating ring generalship more which isn't even ring generalship, because Conceicao controlled the fight. Conceicao won most of those rounds, all those opening rounds. Frustrated, confused Oscar Valdez, and Oscar Valdez just putting on the pressure later. Did win a couple of nice rounds, but was kind of gifted other rounds by the lack of offense put out by Conceicao instead of strictly following boxing criterion, what you judge a fight off of, which still Valdez for most of those later rounds, not all, he had some good ones, but most of those later rounds was still really unable to ever land flush on Conceicao. And yeah, I thought that was quite a robbery. But Robson Conceicao, otherwise on the broadcast, has been known of anything between Robson, Hobson, Hopeson. Yeah, Robson Conceicao, go and check him out. He is an incredible fighter as well. And last fighter that we're going to touch on for today is another kind of just fan favorite of myself. It's hard sometimes, with the exception there of Rungvisai, which is why I particularly started out talking about him. He has had highly impressive wins and been a world champion before, even though he has losses and a lot of people don't know his name. Other fighters in boxing, you will have to search for sometimes robberies where they should have won and maybe didn't. Maybe they don't have so many great wins, but maybe they have been in the ring with people that they were severe underdogs against, that were supposed to be easy, for their opponent to handle them, and it just wasn't the case. There are a lot of fighters that will fill up this special that I already have on the list that are like this man, Sergey Darivanchenko. He is only 13-4, 13-5 now, I think, in the pros. So a very kind of almost 50-50 fighter there in his pro career. But he is another guy, also, by the way, like Robson Conceicao, who is around 300 amateur fights and highly impressive himself and an incredible amateur. He is Ukrainian. I watched the man beat Triple G with my own two eyes. I encourage you, they gave the fight to Triple G. I encourage you, and this is the sole reason, but there are others. This is really why you should know who Sergey Darivanchenko is, because you need to go watch Derevyanchenko versus Triple G and watch that fight, and you tell me who you thought won that fight. A close enough fight, but I definitely thought that Sergey won that fight. By more than a couple rounds, as a matter of fact, but at least by 2 rounds, won that fight. I don't even think that it should have been a draw, and they actually gave the fight to Triple G. But I watched it happen. I encourage you to go watch it happen. You know, other than that, there's not too many great wins. Sam Solomon TKO'd him when he was 44-12. But then he had beaten Terrell Johnson. He was 20-0. The Solomon win's good. The Terrell Johnson win's good, beating an undefeated fighter there. But he also had many other fights, not as dramatic, where he really should have won at that Triple G fight, which Triple G, big selling A-class star in boxing. He has also fought in Daniel Jacobs, who is Daniel Jacobs on a bit of a decline now, but really was a test for even Canelo back in the day. Daniel Jacobs, a world champion himself. Derevyanchenko had a split decision loss in a close fight as well with Daniel Jacobs. He also had fought in Jamal Charlo. That one wasn't so close. He deserved to lose that, but still a warrior the whole time through, went the distance, and lost a close enough fight with Carlos Adames in his last fight. I am not 100% on this. I'm not sure if Sergey Derevyanchenko's retired or if we'll see him back. If we see him back, I highly encourage you to go check him out. He is a hell of a fighter. And that's kind of our thing. We kind of swam deep here today, just jumped right into this, but those are 3 fighters to start you off with, unknown by most casual fans, and definitely worth your time to go watch these amazing fighters that you've never heard of, that have either beat or should have beaten absolute great fighters that you're very familiar with. And again, before we go, please drop in the comments some fighters that you'd like me to talk about that kind of fit the criteria that I have laid out here today. And until next time, loyal fight fans, we'll see you later.